The marketplace was alive with noise, filled with creatures of every shape and size. Glowing lights from strange stalls covered the dark streets. The air was heavy with smoke, spices, and the smell of fear. Buyers and sellers shouted in many languages, trading not only goods but living beings. In the center of this chaos stood a small figure. A girl. Her body was weak, thin, and without clothes, her skin pale under the twin suns of the alien world. Chains hung from her wrists, and her eyes were empty with hopelessness. She had been brought here to be sold like an object. The alien merchant who owned her shouted loudly, raising her arm as if she were nothing more than a piece of broken metal. "Who will buy this one?" he called, his voice filled with greed. "Cheap, very cheap. Take her now before she collapses." His words echoed across the crowd, but no one stepped forward. Buyers walked past her with cold eyes. Some laughed, some sneered. One alien whispered to another, "She is useless, too weak, not worth the credit." Another growled, "No strength, no skill, no value." Each word stabbed her heart deeper. She lowered her head, unable to face their cruel stares. The market was a cruel place, filled with noise and life. Yet for her, it was only emptiness. Every time she hoped someone might see her as more than a broken thing, they turned away. She was not strong enough to fight, not beautiful enough to desire, not dangerous enough to fear. She was nothing in their eyes. The alien merchant grew. Angry, he pushed her forward, forcing her to kneel in the dust. "No one wants her?" he shouted, "not even for the lowest price." His voice cracked with disbelief, for in this market, everything had value, even broken tools, even dying animals. But she was worth less than nothing as the crowd laughed and moved on. The girl was left abandoned in the dirt. The merchant spat on the ground and walked away, leaving her chained and forgotten. Her heart pounded with shame. Her skin burned under the gaze of strangers, and her body trembled with hunger and weakness. She wanted to cry, but no tears came. She wanted to scream, but no voice escaped. She curled her arms around herself, trying to hide from the world. The noise of the market faded as buyers turned their attention to other slaves. Stronger, prettier, more useful. She was invisible now, a shadow in a place of monsters. And yet, in the corner of the market, someone was watching. A figure taller than the rest, his eyes hidden beneath the hood of a worn jacket. He was not like the others. His skin was different. His movements slower, calmer. His gaze fixed on the girl who sat in the dirt. The girl did not see him at first. She only felt the heavy weight of despair crushing her. She believed her story was over, that she would be left here until hunger or cold ended her life. But the universe had other plans. The figure stepped forward, moving through the crowd with silent strength. Aliens muttered as he passed, whispering to each other. Some stared, some frowned. A human, one hissed, "What is he doing here?" Another sneered. Humans never come to this market. Their voices were low, filled with suspicion. But the man did not stop. His steps were steady, his eyes locked on the girl, as if she were the only soul in this place of shadows. The girl felt a shadow fall across her. She lifted her head slowly, her eyes meeting his for the first time. His gaze was not cruel, not cold, not empty. There was something different there, something she had not seen before. Hope. The market roared around them. Yet in that moment, the world grew quiet. The girl stared at the stranger, trembling with fear and confusion. The human looked down at her, his voice low, calm, and steady. "You don't belong here," he said. And for the first time in her life, she felt someone's words touch her heart. The crowd watched in silence, waiting to see what the human would do. The merchants frowned, the buyers whispered. The girl's chains rattled as she tried to move, but her body was too weak. The human reached out. Pulling off his jacket, he placed It gently around her shoulders, covering her thin frame. The warmth of the cloth shocked her. It had been so long since she had felt kindness. Her lips parted, but no sound came. She wanted to ask who he was, why he was helping her. But the words died in her throat. The alien market, a place of cruelty and greed, had just witnessed something rare, something dangerous. A human had chosen to care. And in that choice, everything was about to change. The human's jacket hung heavy on the girl's shoulders, rough and warm against her cold skin. It was the first piece of kindness she had felt in a world that only knew cruelty. The market noise pressed around them, voices sharp, eyes watching. With distrust, but for her, the universe had narrowed to a single figure. The human, he stood tall, his hood shadowing his face, his body strong yet calm. He did not shout like the merchants. He did not laugh like the buyers. He simply stood there, silent, as if time itself had paused. The merchant who had abandoned her returned, anger flashing in his alien eyes. "You?" He growled. "Leave her. She is worthless, not even worth one coin." His voice was full of venom, but the human did not move. His gaze never left the girl. "She is not for sale anymore," the human said, his voice deep and steady. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread quickly. No one dared to speak against the merchants. No one dared to take what the market rejected. Yet here was a human, breaking the unspoken law. The merchant spat. "Take her if you want, but don't blame me when she dies in your arms." With a bitter laugh, he walked away, his tail lashing the dirt. The crowd slowly lost interest. Their curiosity fading as they turned to other trades, weapons, beasts, jewels. The market's hunger swallowed the moment, leaving only the human and the girl behind. She sat in the dust, her thin fingers clutching the jacket as if it were her last. Shield, her lips moved, trembling, trying to form words, but only a whisper escaped. "Why?" The human crouched down, his eyes soft, his face still hidden under the hood. "Because you are still alive," he answered, his tone simple, as if that reason alone was enough. The girl looked away, shame filling her chest. Alive, yes, but broken. Weak, empty. She had nothing, she was nothing. Yet he spoke as if her life still had meaning. He reached forward, breaking her chains with a sharp tool from his belt. The metal snapped, and for the first time in years, her wrists were free. She stared at her hands in disbelief, the marks of iron still red on her skin. But the weight was gone. The crowd around them shifted uneasily. Aliens muttered to each other. Why would a human care? One hissed, "They are dangerous creatures, always interfering." Another spat, "He is a fool, wasting time on garbage." Their words cut like knives, but the human ignored them. He lifted the girl gently, her legs trembling under her own weight. She stumbled, nearly falling, but his arm held her steady. The world tilted as they walked through the market. The bright stalls blurred into a sea of strange colors. She felt small beside him. Every step heavy with fear, every breath shaky. Yet, there was a strange fire in her chest, a spark she thought had died long ago. The human did not speak much, his silence stronger than any words. But his presence was like a shield. The crowd parted for him, not daring to stand in his way. When they left the main square, the noise of the market faded into echoes. They walked down narrow alleys, lit by flickering lamps and neon signs. Shadows stretched long, every corner holding danger. The girl clutched the jacket tighter, her eyes darting, fear rising again. "Why did no one want me?" she whispered, her voice almost broken. The human paused, his steps slowing. His gaze turned to her, sharp and thoughtful. "Because they are blind," he said, "they see weakness. But I see something else." His words confused her, yet they planted a seed of hope, tiny, fragile, but real. The wind blew dust across the alley. Voices echoed from far away. The market was still alive, still hunting. The girl knew they were not safe. She had seen it too many times. Slaves who escaped were always chased, punished, destroyed. She tugged at his arm, fear in her eyes. "They will come," she whispered. "The hunters, they always come." The human's jaw tightened. His hand rested on the weapon at his belt. "Let them come," he replied, his tone unshaken. Her heart raced. She had expected him to run, to hide, to abandon her like everyone else, but he stood firm, as if he had faced worse than this. As if the market's hunters were nothing more than shadows to him. They reached a broken wall where the city stretched beyond, tall towers glowing with alien lights. The girl stopped, her body weak, her mind heavy with fear. She looked at him again. "Why me?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why save me?" The human's eyes softened for the first time, a shadow of sorrow crossing his face. "Because once I failed to save another," he whispered, "and I will not fail again." The girl's breath caught. His words carried weight. Heavy with loss, yet filled with strength, she did not understand his story. But she felt the truth inside him. The night deepened, the sounds of pursuit already stirring behind them. The market would not forget so easily. And now, both of them were marked. The girl shivered, clutching his jacket, her heart torn between fear and a strange new feeling. For the first time, she was not completely alone. And for the first time, the galaxy seemed to hold more than chains. It held a chance. The night sky above the alien city glowed with strange lights. Colors twisted across the clouds like fire caught in glass. The streets below were narrow, crowded, and full of whispers. Shadows moved with purpose. Hunters searching, merchants hiding, thieves waiting. The girl walked close to the human, her bare feet stumbling on the rough stone. The jacket hung heavy around her. Each step a fight against weakness. Yet she kept moving, her eyes wide, her heart racing. The human moved differently, calm, steady. As if every corner, every alley, was already known to him, he walked with the silence of someone trained to survive, his hand always near his weapon, his eyes sharp under the hood. The girl felt small beside him, but for the first time, she felt shielded. His presence pushed back the cold of the night. Though she did not understand why he had chosen her, they turned into a dark passage, the walls tall and broken. The smell of rust and oil heavy in the air. Suddenly, a sound echoed behind them. Footsteps, many, heavy, and fast. The girl froze, fear rising in her throat. "Hunters," she whispered, her voice shaking. The human did not answer. But his pace quickened, his eyes scanning the shadows. The girl clutched his jacket, trembling. She knew what hunters did. They dragged escapees back to the market, beaten, broken, sometimes never seen again. The footsteps grew louder, echoing. Closer, voices followed, sharp and cruel. "Find them," one hissed. "The human cannot take her. She belongs to the market." Another growled. "The master wants her back alive, but not unharmed." Their laughter chilled the air. The human stopped, his hand raising slightly. Signaling the girl to stay behind him, she obeyed, her body pressed to the wall, her breath shallow from the shadows. 3 figures stepped forward, tall, armed, their eyes glowing under metal masks, hunters of the market. They carried whips of energy and blades that hummed with power. The lead hunter sneered, his voice metallic. "Leave the girl, human. She is not worth your life." The human lowered his hood slowly, revealing his face for the first time. His eyes sharp, cold as steel, his jaw firm, his skin marked with faint scars. The girl gasped softly. He looked human, but not ordinary. His presence was heavy, dangerous. "She is not yours," the human said, his voice low, but filled with power. She will never be yours again." The hunters laughed, the sound harsh and cruel. "You think you can fight us alone?" One mocked, "This is our city, our market. You are nothing here." The human's hand rested on the weapon at his belt, a blade that shimmered faintly. Not alien, but human-made, old yet strong. The girl's heart pounded, fear and awe mixing. She had never seen anyone stand against the hunters. No one dared, but this human stood like a wall of iron. Unshaken, unafraid, the first hunter lunged forward. His whip cracking through the air, sparks flew as it struck. But the human moved with lightning speed, his blade slicing. The whip split in two. The hunter staggered back with a cry. The other two attacked at once, blades humming, moving fast, but the human was faster. His movements sharp, precise, every strike controlled. He fought not like a desperate man, but like a soldier who had faced death before. The girl pressed against the wall, her eyes wide. Watching the clash of steel and sparks, her breath caught in her throat. She had thought him just a stranger, a wanderer, but now she saw the truth. He was something more. The fight was brutal. The alley filled with the sound of metal. Grunts and sparks. One hunter fell, blades striking stone. Another stumbled, blood on his mask. The leader growled, anger burning. "You don't know what she is," the leader hissed, circling. "You think she is weak? But she is dangerous, cursed. That is why no one would buy her. That is why she was left to rot." His words cut through the night. The girl froze, her chest tight, dangerous, cursed. The human's eyes flicked toward her for a moment, then back to the hunter. "She is alive, and that is enough," he said. His blade raised again. The leader attacked, fast and furious, but the human met every strike. Steel clashing, sparks burning the dark. With a final swing, the hunter fell. Silence followed. The alley empty, except for the sound of the girl's quick breaths. The human stood still, his chest rising slowly, his blade dripping with light. He wiped it clean and turned to her, his eyes softer now. "Come," he said. "It is not safe here." The girl trembled, her mind spinning with fear and questions. Why did the hunter call her cursed? What secret did she hold? Why would this human risk everything for her? As they walked deeper into the city, shadows watched from the rooftops, whispers carried on the wind. Word of a human defying the market was spreading fast. The girl clutched the jacket tighter, her steps weak, but determined. For the first time, she felt something beyond fear. A spark of strength growing inside her. The human led the way, silent and steady, but inside. His thoughts were heavy. He knew the hunters would not stop. He knew the girl was more than she appeared, and he knew the galaxy itself might shift because of her. The night grew darker. Danger followed close, but together they walked on. One step into a story that was only beginning. The city stretched wide before them, towers glowing like giant spears of glass. The streets twisted like a maze, filled with shadows, broken signs. And the smell of smoke, every step echoed with danger. Every corner felt alive with eyes. The girl walked close to the human, her body weak, her mind heavy with questions. She clutched his jacket tight, afraid to let go, afraid he might vanish like a dream, but whispers followed them. Whispers that grew stronger with every street. Merchants leaned close, speaking in hushed tones. "That's her. The girl from the market," one muttered. "The one no one would buy," another hissed. "The cursed one, the empty one." Their words carried through the alleys like poison. The girl lowered her head, shame burning her cheeks. She wanted to cover her ears, to run, but she could not. She had nowhere else to go. The human walked on, silent, his eyes sharp. His hand never far from his weapon. He heard the whispers too. But his face gave nothing away. Finally, they stopped at the edge of a broken courtyard. The walls cracked, the ground littered with old metal. A ruined place where no one would follow. The human guided her to sit on a piece of stone, his gaze. "Scanning the shadows rest," he said simply, his voice calm. The girl sat, her body trembling. She looked at him, her lips parting, words spilling out before she could stop them. "Why do they call me cursed?" The human's eyes met hers, steady and unreadable. For a long moment he said nothing. Only the sound of the wind filled the air. Finally, he spoke. "Because they fear what they don't understand. But I am nothing," she whispered, her voice weak. "I am weak, empty, broken. Why would anyone fear me?" The human crouched before her, his gaze sharp. "Sometimes fear is not born from strength," he said. "It is born from the unknown." Her heart pounded. His words made no sense, yet they carried weight, as if he knew more than he admitted. As if he had seen something she had not, before she could speak again. A voice echoed from the shadows, low and mocking. "The human speaks like a prophet. But even prophets bleed." The girl froze. The human rose quickly, his blade sliding free with a whisper of steel. From the dark corners of the courtyard, more hunters appeared, their masks glowing faintly, their eyes filled with greed and hate. The leader among them stepped forward, taller, armored in black metal, his voice deep. "Give her to us, human. You cannot hide her, you cannot protect her. She belongs to the market." The girl trembled, pressing back against the stone, her hands gripping the jacket. Fear choked her. The human stood firm, his blade gleaming. "She belongs to no one," he said. The hunters laughed. The sound sharp. "You don't understand what you carry." The leader hissed. "She is not just a girl. She is a key, a weapon, a curse. That is why no one touched her. That is why she was left in the dirt. She is dangerous." The girl's eyes widened, her breath quick. A weapon, a curse. Their words swirled in her mind like fire. The human's gaze flicked toward her, but only for a heartbeat, then back to the hunters. "She is alive," he repeated, "and that is all that matters." The hunters lunged. The fight exploded in the ruins. Steel clashing, sparks flying, the human moved fast. His blade cutting through the air, every strike precise, every step controlled. The girl watched, her heart racing, torn between fear and awe. But the hunters were many, their weapons glowing with alien power. The humans struck down one, then two, but more closed in, their laughter cruel. Their blades flashing, the girl pressed, her hands to her ears, trying to block the sound, but it was everywhere. The clash, the cries. The whispers in her mind. "You are not weak," the whispers said. Though no mouth spoke them, "You are not broken." Her chest burned. Her vision blurred, the world tilted. She clutched her head, pain rising like fire in her veins. The human fought harder, his breath heavy, sweat on his brow. But he saw her trembling, saw the glow in her eyes. Faint, strange, unnatural, one hunter shouted. "It's waking in her. Stop her before she burns us all." The human's heart tightened. He moved faster, striking them down with fury, his voice sharp. "Stay with me," he called to the girl. "Do not give in." Her body shook. Light flickered under her skin, faint, but real. Like stars trapped inside her veins, she gasped, fear flooding her. "What is happening to me?" The hunter snarled, their fear now louder than their rage. "She is the cursed child, the weapon of silence. She must not awaken." The human's blade cut through the last of them, their bodies falling silent, the courtyard filled with smoke and dust. He stood there, chest heaving, eyes locked on her. The girl sat trembling, light fading slowly from her veins, her body weak, her voice broken. "What am I?" she whispered. The human stepped closer, his face shadowed, but his voice firm. "You are not what they say," he said. You are more, but you must choose what you will become." The girl's tears fell. Confusion and fear tearing through her. She did not understand. She only knew that the world saw her as cursed. But this man, this stranger, saw her as something else. The night closed around them, silence heavy. The hunters defeated. But more would come. Whispers would spread. The market would not stop, and in the middle of it all, a girl who was no longer sure if she was only a victim or something far greater. The ruins behind them were silent now. The hunters lay broken, their masks shattered. Their whispers gone, yet the air still felt heavy, as if the shadows of the market clung to the girl's skin. The human stood tall, his blade still faintly glowing. His breath steady, though his eyes were sharp. He turned to her, his jacket hanging loose on her thin shoulders. Her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. And something else, a light she did not understand. "We must move," he said, his voice calm but urgent. The girl tried to stand, her legs trembling. The fire she had felt in her veins now gone. Leaving her weak, she looked at him. Confusion filling her chest. "They called me cursed," she whispered. "They called me a weapon. What does it mean?" The human's gaze softened for a moment, but his jaw tightened. "It means they are afraid of you," he said, and fear is the language of the market. Her heart pounded, fear mixing with shame. She wanted answers. But the night gave them no time behind them. Faint horns echoed through the city. The call of hunters gathering again. The human's eyes flicked toward the sound. His hand tightening on his weapon. "They will not stop," he said. "The market does not forgive. Once they mark you, they chase until you are gone." The girl shivered. The thought of endless pursuit filled her with dread. "Then why help me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You could leave me. Save yourself." He looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Because I have seen what happens to those left behind," he said quietly. "And I will not see it again before she could." Reply, movements stirred in the alleys, shadows stretching, the glow of alien lights growing. The hunters were closing in. "Run," he ordered, his hand guiding her forward. They fled through the maze of streets, the city alive with noise, doors slamming, voices shouting. The hunter's calls echoing closer. The girl stumbled, but the human's hand kept her steady, pulling her through the chaos. The chase grew fierce. Alien footsteps pounding behind them, the hiss of energy weapons cutting the air. Sparks flying as blasts struck walls and stone. The girl cried out as one shot nearly grazed her shoulder. The human turned, his blade flashing, deflecting another strike, his movements sharp, controlled. He pulled her into a narrow passage, climbing broken stairs. The city lights below flickered like a sea of fire. Their breaths quick, their hearts racing. From the rooftops, hunters leaped, their shadows long against the alien moons. The girl clutched the jacket, terror in her chest. "We can't escape," she whispered. "There are too many." The human turned, his eyes fierce. "We do not stop," he said. "We fight if we must, but we do not stop." She stared at him, his strength unshaken, his voice steady. She did not understand how one man could face so much. Yet she felt the weight of his words pull her forward. They reached a higher ledge, the city stretching wide before them. The human paused, scanning the streets below, his jaw set. The girl watched him, her fear giving way to curiosity. "You fight like a soldier," she whispered, "but you move like a ghost. Who are you?" His eyes flicked toward her, shadowed but heavy with truth. "Once, I was both," he said. "A soldier who fought wars, a ghost who survived them. But titles mean nothing now." His words stirred questions inside her, questions that clawed at her heart, but there was no time. A hunter rose from the shadows behind them, blade raised, his mask glowing. The human spun, his blade flashing, the strike clean. The hunter fell, silent. Eh? The girl gasped, her chest tight. She had never seen anyone fight like him, not with such precision, such control. They moved again, climbing higher. The city below them, alive with hunters, lights searching, horns blaring. The girl's legs shook with exhaustion, but the human did not slow. At last, they reached the edge of the outer wall. A broken gate half covered with vines and rust. Beyond it lay the wastelands, dark and endless. The girl stopped, her breath ragged, her body weak. "If we leave the city, where do we go?" she asked, fear in her voice. The human stood beside her, his gaze on the stars above, his expression unreadable. "Far from here," he said. "Far enough that the market's claws cannot reach." The girl swallowed hard, her chest heavy. She looked at him, her voice trembling. "And if they find us?" His eyes turned to hers, steady and unbroken. "Then we fight," he said, "and we keep fighting until there is nothing left to fight." The girl lowered her gaze, her hands clutching the jacket tighter. For years, she had believed she was worthless, abandoned, left to rot. But beside this human, she felt a strange strength stirring inside her. The horns behind them grew louder. The glow of hunters climbing the walls. Time was slipping away. The human stepped forward, pulling the gate open with a grunt of effort, rust and vines tearing apart. The night air of the wastelands rushing in, cold and sharp. "Come," he said, his voice low. "Our journey begins now." The girl hesitated, her heart pounding. The city behind her, filled with chains and shadows. The wastelands ahead, unknown and dangerous. She took a step, then another, following him into the dark, and though fear still clung to her, for the first time, a spark of hope burned beside it. The wastelands stretched before them, endless and dark. The ground cracked and dry beneath two alien moons. The wind howled across empty plains, carrying the smell of dust and rust. It was a place where few dared to walk, a place where the market's reach grew weaker. But danger never truly ended. The girl stumbled as she followed the human, her bare feet cut by sharp stones, but she forced herself to move, her eyes fixed on his broad back, his steps steady and unbroken. He seemed tireless, his strength endless. While she felt every breath burn inside her chest, hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time blurred in the emptiness. Finally, the human stopped near the remains of a broken transport, its metal torn by old battles, its shadow offering little shelter. "Rest," he said simply, his voice calm but heavy with command. The girl sank to the ground, her body weak, her hands trembling. She looked at him, her eyes wide. "Why do you keep helping me?" she asked, her voice soft, filled with doubt. "You fight for me, you protect me. But you don't even know me." The human crouched near the broken transport, pulling out a small device that glowed faintly. It hummed as he scanned the horizon. "I know enough," he said. "I know the market fears you, and I know fear always hides truth." His words confused her. Truth? What truth could she hold? She lowered her gaze, shame heavy in her chest. "They said I was cursed," she whispered. "They said I was dangerous. Maybe they are right. Maybe you should have left me." The human turned his eyes to her, sharp and steady. "Listen to me," he said, his tone strong. "You are not what they call you. The market twists words. It twists lives. They see you as a tool. I see you as a person." Her chest tightened, tears burning her eyes. No one had spoken to her like that before. No one had ever given her the dignity of being seen. For a moment, warmth filled the silence, trust blooming like a fragile flame. But the wastelands had no mercy. From the distance came the sound of engines, rough and sharp, lights cutting through the dust. The girl's heart froze. "Hunters," she whispered. The human rose, his jaw tightening. "They are faster than I thought," he said, his hand on his blade. The girl panicked, fear clawing at her chest. "We cannot fight them again. Not here." "Not now," she begged, her voice trembling. The human looked at her, his eyes firm. "Then we run," he said. "But if they catch us, you must trust me." She nodded weakly, though fear twisted inside her. Trust was a fragile word, heavy and dangerous. They fled across the broken plains. Dust rising with every step, the roar of engines growing louder behind them. The hunters' machines cut through the night, armed and merciless. Voices shouted. Through the wind, there. The girl and the human. Do not let them escape. The human pulled her forward, his speed unmatched, his focus sharp. But the wasteland was wide, nowhere to hide, nowhere to turn. Suddenly, a figure appeared from the shadows of broken stone. A cloaked stranger waving them toward a hidden path. "This way," the voice called, rough and urgent. The girl froze, her eyes wide. "Who is that?" She whispered. The human hesitated, his gaze sharp, distrust heavy in his stare. But the hunters were closing in, the engines roaring like thunder. They had no choice. They followed the cloaked figure into a narrow ravine, the walls high, the shadows deep. The hunters' machines thundered past above, missing their trail. For a moment, silence returned. The girl collapsed against the rock, gasping for air. The cloaked figure stepped closer, his face hidden under layers of cloth. "You should not be here," he said, his voice low. "The girl is marked. She carries death inside her. Do you even know what you protect, human?" The human's blade flashed into his hand, his stance firm. "Speak clearly," he demanded. "What do you know?" The cloaked figure's eyes glowed faintly beneath the hood. "I know she was not abandoned because she was weak," he said. "I know the market feared to use her, feared to sell her because inside her is power not even they could control." The girl's breath caught, her hands shaking. She backed against the wall, her voice breaking. No, that's not true. I am nothing. I am empty." The cloaked figure stepped closer, his voice sharp. "You are not empty, child. You are full. Full of the fire that destroyed your people. Full of the silence that broke your chains. The market wanted to keep you hidden until they found a way to use you." Her heart shattered, tears spilling, her voice trembling. You lie," she cried, but deep inside. Part of her feared the words were true. The human moved between them, his blade raised. "Enough," he said, his tone sharp as steel. "She is not your tool, and she is not theirs. Whatever truth she holds, it will be her choice, not yours." The cloaked figure sneered, his voice filled with bitterness. "Then you are a fool, human. Protect her if you wish, but know this. She will bring ruin to all who stand beside her." With that, the figure vanished into the shadows. Leaving silence heavy in the ravine, the girl trembled, clutching the jacket tight, her voice soft and broken. "Is it true?" she asked, her eyes full of fear. "Am I really a curse?" The human sheathed his blade slowly, his gaze meeting hers, strong and steady. "You are what you choose to be," he said. "Not what they whisper, not what they fear, only what you decide." She stared at him, his words sinking deep. Fragile trust grew stronger, yet doubt still lingered. The night pressed on, the hunters still searching, betrayal lurking in every shadow. And the girl's secret, now half revealed, burned inside her like a storm waiting to break. The wasteland nights stretched endlessly, the alien moons glowing cold above. Silence pressed heavy on the broken ground, yet inside that silence the girl's heart thundered. Her breath ragged, her thoughts torn. The human walked ahead, his steps strong, his blade hanging at his side, but his eyes never left the shadows. He knew the hunters were still close, The market never stopped once it had set its mark. The girl followed, clutching his jacket, her body weak, but her mind louder than ever. The words of the cloaked figure echoed inside her skull. You are full of fire, full of silence. You will bring ruin, each whisper cut deeper. Fear tangled with doubt. Finally, they stopped at the edge of a canyon. The land split wide. Deep cracks glowing faintly with alien light far below. There was no bridge. No safe path. The human's jaw tightened as he searched the horizon. They are close, he said, his voice steady. We must cross, or they will trap us. The girl stared at the canyon, her legs trembling. I cannot, she whispered. I am too weak. I cannot do this. The human turned to her, his gaze sharp. You are stronger than you believe, he said, but strength is not only in the body. It is in the choice you make. Before she could answer, the night broke with noise. Hunters poured from the shadows, engines roaring, voices shouting, weapons glowing. They had been found. The girl's chest tightened. Fear freezing her, she backed away, her voice shaking. We cannot fight them all. We cannot escape. The human stepped forward, his blade flashing in the moonlight, his stance unbroken. Then we do not run, he said. We stand. The hunters closed in, their leader's mask shining, his voice sharp. Give her to us. Human, she is ours. Her blood is ours. Her power is ours. The girl shook her head, tears burning her eyes. I am nothing, she cried. I am not power. I am not fire. The hunters laughed, their voices cruel. You cannot hide it. They hissed. We saw it burn in the ruins. We saw it shine in your veins. You are the cursed child, the weapon of silence. The galaxy will kneel or fall because of you. The girl gasped, her chest aching. Light flickering under her skin, faint but real. She stumbled back, fear and shame twisting inside her. The human's eyes met hers, steady and firm. Listen. To me, he said, his voice cutting through the noise. They do not decide what you are. You do. You can hide, or you can rise. But the choice is yours. Her heart pounded, her breath quick. The hunters raised their weapons. The canyon glowed. The night filled with tension. One step forward, and she would remain the victim, forever running, forever afraid. One step forward, and she could choose to face what burned inside her, no matter how terrible, no matter how dangerous, the leader snarled. Raising his weapon, choose quickly. Girl, or we will choose for you. The girl closed her eyes, the world fading, her body trembling. Memories of the market. The chains, the shame, the cold voices calling her worthless. All of it burned inside her. But then came the memory of the human's jacket. Heavy and warm, the sound of his voice sang. You are not what they call you. You are more. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly, her breath steady. She stepped forward, no longer hiding. The hunters paused, their laughter faltering. The glow in her veins spread, brighter now, flowing like fire beneath her skin, her thin frame trembling but unbroken. The human stood beside her, his blade raised, his eyes fierce. Whatever you choose, he said, I stand with you. The girl lifted her head, her voice soft but strong. I will not run any more. The ground shook, the canyon's cracks glowed brighter. The air thick with power, the hunters froze. Their weapons trembling in their hands. From the girl's body came a wave of light. Silent yet crushing. It spread across the wasteland, bending the air, shaking the ground. The hunters cried out. Some falling to their knees, others stumbling. Back in fear, the leader shouted in rage. She cannot control it. She will destroy us all. But the human's gaze never wavered. He stood tall, steady, as the storm of power grew. The girl's eyes shone like stars, her voice breaking the silence. I am not cursed. I am not empty. I am alive, the hunters screamed, their lines breaking, their fear louder than their rage. The power pushed against them. A force they could not match. The canyon cracked wider, stones falling into the abyss. Light blazing from below, the wasteland trembling as if the world itself answered her. Her body shook, the glow burning hotter, but she stood unbroken, her choice made. The human reached for her shoulder, grounding her, steadying her, his voice firm. Hold on. Do not let it consume you. You are in control. The girl gasped, the light trembling, but her will stronger. She focused, pulling the storm inward. The glow fading slowly, the silence returning. When the dust settled, the hunters were gone. Scattered into the shadows, the canyon split wider. The night forever changed. The girl fell to her knees. Trembling, her breath ragged, her eyes full. Of fear. What am I? She whispered. The human crouched beside her, his hand steady on her shoulder. His voice low but strong. You are hope, he said, or ruin, but only you can decide. The girl looked at him, tears shining, the future heavy before her. One path of chains, another a fire. The narrator's voice rises as the scene fades into silence. The market had rejected her. The hunters had feared her, but the galaxy had only begun to learn her true worth.